this question is for Professor Pillai. Sir, excellent work IGNOU is doing, and we congratulate you, and we are with you. The GER, which is today 11-12%, and we want to increase it to 20-30%. My question is this, that in Europe, where you have studied and done a lot of work, sir, in Germany, and as you know, in the GER in those countries is hardly 20-25%, while vocational training, what Mr. Sharda Prasad and my friend Dr. R.P. Singh also mentioned, there's a vocational training is balanced 80%. And in other countries like Korea and all, it is also the same. In countries like China, sir, it is nearly, GER is not so high, but it is high, but the vocational training is given very big. So how, sir, do you plan to change this mindset? I think it's a big responsibility on all of us, but I'd like to hear from you, sir.
Very well, we cannot compare this country with Germany or Korea. First, we cannot compare. Of course, I know the German system, how rigorous their vocational education, how vigorous their education system is there. Because in Germany, of course, I spent maybe three decades ago, in Germany, for any graduate from any university to earn a degree, to get their final degree certificate, he or she has to work for 1 year in the, they don't have military, they don't have professional military. They have to have such services, social services. They have to work in industry, or they have to work in the villages, or work in the community. It is a must. They will pass the examination, but they will not get the degree unless and until they work for 1 year. This is, of course, in our country, of course, we have similar systems, but we cannot compare. We cannot create such opportunities in our country. That is one thing. And in China, of course, China is comparable, definitely comparable with us in terms of population and in terms of the profiles. But the achievement in gross enrollment ratio is not negligible now. For example, China was lagging behind in 1970s and 1980s. They were lagging much behind us. But now they have come up like anything. It's more than 16%, or even approaching 20%. Of course, they did it with some lot. And of course, as we usually say, what we are paying is the price of the democracy or thing. But things are happening in our country. We should not be pessimistic. Things are happening in this country. And what is probably required? Probably one single point I would like to respond to your question is, gross enrollment ratio will enhance when we link education with skills. Gross enrollment ratio will definitely enhance, and dropout ratio will come down if we combine our conventional education with some sort of a skill. And it is very necessary. For example, in German universities, it is very necessary that anybody, they should also earn a skill before they get a degree. And you know that after 8th standard, they also go to a different stream. And they are not planning everybody to go to the university education. But those who are going through the other stream, not through the university education, they can come back. They can come back after a particular stage again to education, and there are people who have got Nobel Prizes up by this route. So this is precisely what is required. For example, a person going to the skill sector, he or she should be able to come back to the mainstream after reaching some levels of skill development and at higher knowledge levels, and they can earn a higher university degree. So this is the similar. And such models are possible. When I say we are a highly populated country, this model could not be possible and all that. This highly populated country can be of, our institutions can think about it. For example, if you have 10,000 universities in this country, why not the 10,000 each of these 10,000 universities independently think as a small province or something, and then look at education and skills which are required for this country. And so these are the approaches. And then we should not look at only at the public infrastructure for education. There is a lot of education infrastructure available outside the formal confines of the education departments or the universities and colleges in this country. Lot of education infrastructure available outside. Let it be in the Department of Science and Technology, public, for example. We are not experimenting, we have really implemented. We are making use of the education infrastructure available with the Defense Department in the country, Ministry of Defense. And we are, every year now, we are adding 50,000 graduates additionally to the country through collaboration with the military, this Indian Army, Indian Navy, and Air Force, Airmen. This is our own education infrastructure. Similarly, if there are 230,000 public institutions which are involved in education and related areas in this country, if they can make use of 10 hours extra per week, idling time, we can add to gross enrollment ratio. So these are I cannot, there are lot of recipes like this. Therefore, we have to unconventionally think about providing education. Unless and until we just get out of such silos, we will not be able to do. I am an optimist. I have seen that this is working. For the last 4 years, Indira Gandhi National Open University has been making use of this approach to provide meaningful education, employment, and skills to large number of people by making use of the infrastructure available outside the formal confines without much expenditure from the exchequer.
So, please be specific with your question. Yeah. Thank you.
Sir, I'm B.K. Dhoop, Director, Center for Professional Learning and Development under the aegis of New Delhi Institute of Management. My question is addressed to Dr. Shraddha Prasad. Actually, when you spoke about vocationalization, our institute and other institutes like us would be interested in adopting a model whereby they could also involve in vocational courses for workers or for employees of organizations in the corporate sector, and a model which could promote this would be very much ideal for this kind of thing. So my question is, sir, how to go about it, particularly in the light of, in the context of that even the corporate sector has been given, has been identified as a source of training and development for its own employees or open centers like that. In this context, I would like to also mention the effort made by Sharda University, whereby they have, introduced, or they are about to introduce, some of the learning centers associated with the corporate sector, where very meaningful education or skill development could be provided. Thank you, sir.
Okay, thank you. Actually, when Professor Pillai was responding to Mr. Khanna, I feel personally that this is a cultural problem in our country. We have always, whether it is parents or it is students or anybody, we have preference for academic education. When it comes to vocational, I can send my child to IIT, but I will not send to ITI. Why? Just because we consider that to be inferior. If we are able to provide a pathway that today he starts from ITI and tomorrow he can be in IIT also, if he has that opportunity, a pathway which can take him there, then probably people will not have that kind of sense of being it's inferior. Then probably we can think of. So we are working on that, and this National Vocational Qualification Framework is one method. The second, of course, is to limited extent available even today, 10% of the seats of polytechnics they take from ITIs, and 10% of the engineering colleges seats they come from the polytechnics. So, but that is limited. If we can increase that scope, that pathway, and that is what we are working at. If we can provide that kind of pathway, and people can, under the same system, like today, if somebody has to go to ITI, he will have to be affiliated to the National Council for Vocational Training. If he is doing diploma, then he has to be affiliated to AICTE or engineering colleges or those kinds of courses. This multiplicity should probably be brought under one umbrella, where one can smoothly move from one course to another course, from certificate to diploma to degree to post-graduation to research. And if we can provide that kind of framework, then probably we will be able to take care of this problem. We are working on that, and there will be lots of changes required. Unfortunately, here we have many ministries working, in segments. There is a segmentation, and I just mentioned about Australia, DEWR, the Department of Education, Employment and Work Relations, is a kind of all integrated into one, and therefore probably decision making becomes easier. But we are working with the Ministry of Labour, Education, HRD. We are all working together, and hopefully in a couple of years' time we should be evolve that framework where this smooth transition can take place.
Sir.
I'm Dr. J.D. Agarwal from Indian Institute of Finance. Over the years, we have found that India's education system has expanded extremely well. It has become the second largest technical manpower country in the world, thanks to the efforts made by the Ministry of HRD, the Government of India, and the institutions of higher learning. There has also been a change over the years that from philanthropy in education, we have changed to money-making efforts. And we have also found over the years, and it has been not appreciated, unfortunately, that the institutions of higher learning in India are not sufficiently concentrating on research. A research report by a committee appointed by Ministry of HRD submitted its report to Ministry of HRD about IIMs not sufficiently producing or generating knowledge and producing research. They have also advocated and suggested that IIMs should produce a research-based journal. Now, what steps can be taken so that the institutions of higher learning, the knowledge base, and the intellectuals which India has can really be used to generate knowledge? Under your vice chairmanship in UGC, you have done that for under MPS scheme, the teachers must produce at least 2 research papers so that they can be considered for higher for promotion. Those 2 research papers which are being produced are just a formality being published in some or the other magazine or journal, produced and report obtained and promotions given. Sir, my question is, in what way India could be, besides being a knowledge base, a knowledge generating base in the world? Thank you.
So with your permission, with the panel's permission, sir, with the panel's permission, can we take few more questions, and then, because we are already running late with our thing. So four questions.
We will respond to your question.
Yes, we'll take the questions together.
Sir, I am Dr. R.P. Saxena. I'm the Director in the President Engineering College. Ex-Deputy Director General, Ministry of IT. Sir, I'm the Director there. We have taken a number of steps to include the ICT. In fact, teaching through animation in various courses. Now, the main problem is the students who are coming and the companies who are coming for the placement.